This is Patrick Guldan with MassiveReport.com with the investor operator Clark Hunt of the Crew and Hunt Sports Group. Thank you for spending a couple moments with us.
I'm delighted to be here. Thank you very much.
Talk about your father's love of the sport of soccer and what it really meant to him.
Well, my father did not grow up playing the sport of soccer. His passion for it was really ignited by attending the 1966 World Cup final between West Germany and England. He came back to the United States from that game convinced that the sport would succeed here, in large part because it was played in stadiums that looked a whole lot like American football stadiums, and of course he was involved in the American Football League at that point. So I have to think that the idea crossed his mind that the stadiums which the AFL was building could have a multi-purpose for both soccer and football. But it was fun through the course of my life to see his passion for the game develop. I had the pleasure of attending 7 World Cups with him. It was always our favorite time together as a family. He loved the crowds, he loved the pageantry, and of course the incredible soccer played at that level. He got started professionally with the North American Soccer League and the Dallas Tornado back in 1967. Remained the owner of that team for 15 years until ultimately the NASL failed, and he was thrilled in the wake of the '94 World Cup to have a chance to get back into the sport. With the advent of Major League Soccer, he wanted to be one of the first investors to join it, and that's how our family became an investor in the Crew.
It sounds like you guys had a lot of history, and especially you growing up with soccer in your life. Is there a special moment that you share with remembering your father and you sharing something with soccer?
Well, of course, I remember him attending countless hundreds of the games that I played growing up in the sport, and that was certainly a byproduct of the North American Soccer League, was the development of youth soccer in this country. It really got its start at that time back in the early 70s, which was when I was playing, and a lot of those games were played in the dead of winter, so I remember him, with his overcoat on and his stocking cap on, always attending my games. He was incredible that way as a father. But probably the moment that sticks out for me was the 2002 World Cup in Korea and Japan. Which, by the way, in that World Cup, he went to a game in every venue in both countries, which was an incredible feat, and he did it without VIP treatment. He rode the train, jumped off the train, walked a mile, just like any fan to attend the games. He really loved it that much. But the first game I saw during that Cup was the U.S. game against Germany in the quarterfinals. And of course, folks who remember that game will recall that the U.S. almost upset West Germany. It would have been one of the greatest upsets of all time, and they played extremely well and were unfortunate not to get a better result. I remember sitting there with my father, and he was smiling watching it. And I asked him about it, and he said, "We finally have made it as a soccer nation. We can now compete on the global stage." And I think he recognized that the 35 years or so that he had been in the sport up to that point had really helped the U.S. that day, and it was a memory that I'll remember for the rest of my life, and something that was very special to me.
Okay, one last question, turning our attention to the Crew and the competitive nature of MLS. New York has 3 designated players. Toronto's going out and improving their squad. Chicago has 2 designated players. The pace of the league is picking up. How do you keep a team like the Crew that may not have the marquee market of a Chicago, New York, or LA competitive?
Well, I think the great thing about Major League Soccer is the competitive balance in the league. Now, this year we've seen some teams step out and add designated players at a faster pace. To this point, the teams that have acquired designated players have had not the best results on the field, probably the exception being the Crew with Scalotto, who's been a designated player in the last 3 years. But certainly the league's becoming more competitive. We're focused on that. We believe it's a team sport, however, and it's guys really 1 through 18 that help you win championship, not guys just 1, 2, and 3. Clearly, you've got to have your star players. There's always going to be a place for a Scalotto on a squad, and it's incumbent upon our technical staff to get out there and identify the next Scalotto, and whether he ends up being a designated player or not is really not important. What's important is that we bring in that kind of talent and or develop that talent. That's a new aspect of the league that really will start to have an impact in the next 5 years, the youth academies. There have been, I believe, 18 or 19 players signed from youth academies to Major League Soccer franchises in the last 3 years, and that'll just accelerate, and that's where many of the stars of tomorrow will come from.
Thank you, Clark. Thank you for sharing your thoughts on your father and MLS in general. And have a nice game today, and we'll see you the next time you come into town.
Okay, sure appreciate it. Thanks so much.